So I guess we should start by Kate thanking you for being a part of our conversation about the Zit. Thanks for being here, and thanks for supporting the podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you guys for doing that and having that be an option. So one of my best friends in the entire world is a patron of buffering. So she's all up in the Patreon, and she loves you so much. And so she got the email from Patreon that you guys were doing this, and she forwarded it to me because for me, my so-called life is what Buffy is to her. And so she was like, oh my God, you have to do this. And so when I saw that you guys had that as a level, I was like, I have to donate because I need to talk to people about my so-called life. And also I need to make sure that this podcast actually happens because there's no other My So-Called Life podcast. And I've sort of been waiting for it probably since podcasting started, maybe even for 25 years.
Wow. That's my origin story with the show, or not origin story, but that's how I came to the show too. Is Buffy I came to much later, but My So-Called Life was my heart center when I was growing up. So I totally feel you there.
Yeah.
When you reached out to us, you said that you specifically wanted to talk about this episode, The Zit, and because you consider it the best TV show episode of all time ever. And I think that's amazing. It's such a good episode. I've cried every time that I've rewatched it. So, but I want to hear from you, Kate, why this is the number one episode for you.
So it's sort of I would say back when in 1994 when the show actually was on, I probably wouldn't have said this was my favorite episode because it was sort of I was 12 when the show started, so I was a little bit younger than Angela, but I think I was a little bit too young to really understand the mother-daughter dynamics in this episode in particular. But as I got older and grew up, and my mother and I have a very similar relationship that Patty and Angela have. And so it's sort of in retrospect, every time I revisit this episode, it's just it feels like my life and it's captured my life so perfectly. And then the last, the monologue at the end during the fashion show, it's just and I can't even hear Return to Innocence anymore without just starting to cry because, it's just that scene is just so, it's very melodramatic, but it's just so perfect. And that quote, the voiceover from Angela at the end is just that quote has always just meant so much to me, probably even when I was 12, just because I was a very awkward, not, I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. I didn't feel pretty, I just felt weirdo and an outsider. And so having that, everybody's beautiful in their own way. It's good to get really dressed up and, remember that. And my screen name on everything is Possibly Even Me because of that quote, from that voiceover. That's how big a nerd I am about this episode, is that's my screen name for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I had a live journal under that name, everything.
Oh my God, that gave me the chills.
I love that.
Did you watch it by yourself, or did you watch it with your mom?
I did watch it with my mom. My mom and I, I said, we have a very similar relationship to Angela and Patty. So when I was 12, my mom and I did a lot of stuff together. I hadn't really gotten to that uncomfortable, fighting, can't really get along because you're too similar kind of situation. And so we watched the TV show together, and then, as I got older, I turned more into Angela, and my mom felt like Patty, and, we'd fight, and at the end of the pilot episode, and then also at the end of this episode, they have their sort of difficulties throughout the episode, and then at the end, Angela, comes to her mom's room, and they both, apologize and break down and, fix things, and, that is just really felt it feels like a real parent-child relationship, at least from my perspective. I have, obviously a very similar background to, I guess, to Angela. I'm about the same age. I grew up outside of Cleveland, so it's a very, suburb kind of situation. But yeah, so my mom and I watched the show together. I watched every episode when it was actually airing. My mom let me start dyeing my hair because of Angela Chase, and I thought, red hair would be so cool. I still have red hair because it all goes back to My So-Called Life.
I was going to say, I'm looking at your Skype profile photo right now, and you have the fire engine, red, the crimson.
Yeah, I went through a
glow.
phase in college where it was magenta and purple and actual fire engine red. But if I had to guess percentage-wise, because I've been dyeing my hair basically for 25 years because of My So-Called Life, it's probably 60%, 70%. Basically the hair color I have now, which is the crimson glow, sort of natural, but not really.
I love it.
I wonder how many of us began dyeing our hair in one way or another because we watched My So-Called Life.
I mean, I know I wanted to and I was too shy to, and it wasn't until I got to college and I started doing like little red, like crimson glow streaks, basically. It's like how it all started. Now I've got like, right now I have a full head of like bright purple hair. And I think, we can thank Angela for that for sure.
Definitely.
Right? So that's 3 out of 3 people on this call. Our hair was directly impacted by My So-Called Life.
Exactly. And we're obviously, if it's 100% here, it's probably at least like 20% in the rest of the world, at least in our sort of like generation.
Something I think that's so interesting, you talked about how like watching your dynamic with your mom mirror the Angela and Patty dynamic. But one thing that I found so interesting, both from like people listening and rewatching with us for this podcast and my own experience, is the experience of watching the show and identifying with Patty, which is just a fun like gift that Winnie Holtzman has given us, where like if we grew up as Angelas, we can watch the show this many years later and feel a little bit more like the Pattys of the world. Or like, do you feel like you understand your mom better? Do you feel closer to the Patty character in general when you rewatch this episode?
Definitely. It's been, because I've had the DVDs since they came out, so I've been rewatching it regularly I think the DVDs maybe came out like 15 years ago. So like since then I've been rewatching it probably at least once a year. And so as I've gotten older and now that I'm like in my later 30s or getting to my late 30s, like, and that's pretty much the age that Patty and Graham are now, or on the show, it's sort of like weird seeing it from their perspective, but I really do identify where they're coming from. And especially in this episode, all this stuff with Patty, because like I'm not super like into like glamour and like Botox, any of that kind of stuff, but like I understand what Patty's feeling. Like you're starting to get those little wrinkles and it's like, oh, I don't like, it's not bad, but it's just like people start to not look at you the way that they did when you were like 25 and your skin was perfect. And now it's like, it's not quite as perfect as it used to be. So you're starting to feel a little bit like, oh, maybe I'm not like as confident as I used to be. Although I do love Camille in this episode being like, it's great that I wasn't so good looking in high school because now I can feel like really good about myself. And I kind of identify more with that, I think, than with Patty. Because like I said, I was kind of like a nerd, awkward in middle school and high school. And so I was not the Patty. I was more the Camille for sure.
Well, it's funny too, because the way that the episode sets it up, it shows, something that I think most of us experience in real time, which is when you are younger, not feeling good about the way that you look. And then when you are older, looking back on the way that you looked maybe when you were younger and being like, oh, actually,
right.
Like I actually, now I feel good about that, but now I look different. And now I have to sort of like wrestle with that, which we see, with the parallel between Patty and Angela.
Right. Exactly.
I'm also curious, like something that I think about a lot in terms of My So-Called Life is how it was for many of us, the first chance in our lives to see a character like Ricky on the screen. And I'm wondering, since you were even a little younger than Kristin and I were watching this, growing up in Ohio, like, was Ricky, what did the character of Ricky mean to you? Like, what did it tell you about the way to go through the world?
It was sort of interesting for me growing up because my dad had a friend who was openly gay, and he and his partner or boyfriends at the time, they would just come over. So I was sort of lucky, even because Ohio's maybe not the most progressive place to grow up. I'll just say it that way. But having that specific reference in my life, I think, was very helpful to me. And so Ricky was like another step in that. So it wasn't as eye-opening or a new experience, I think, for me as it may have been for other people watching. But it definitely was. It was helpful to have another perspective and see that not all gay people were like my dad's friend, and there are other ways that people presented themselves and acted, and it was all good. It was all different, but yeah, I don't know if that really answers the question, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think
it
it's
does, yeah.
And it's really impactful because it's like, we talk about Ricky a lot as the first for so many, right? Like he really was the first gay character coming into the living rooms of so many people, and that is impactful. But then, I think what you're talking about is also incredible because, you're saying like, I already had this representation of what like gay could look like, but it was one, and now I had two. And the more I have, the more I understand like that this thing can look many ways and be many ways, and so on and so forth. So I think it's great. It's a great answer. answer because it's like says that, you know, we do need more than just the Rickies to be on television. And he was breaking ground in a lot of ways. But then, you know, luckily we've gotten so many other representations of what that can look like over the years. One of the questions I had for you, Kate, is, you know, and Joanna and I talked a little bit about this, how the show takes moments that could be trivialized, you know, by adults. Like, you know, it's a zit, right? And the whole title of this episode is The Zit, and it revolves around the zit, and it is not trivial to Angela at all. And I wonder, like, just like sort of what your larger thoughts on the show doing that is. And the more specific question I have is, do you have something that you remember about being in middle school or high school that was like this, whether it was the same thing, like your first zit, or something else, where it just felt like it took over your whole existence?
I mean, I think as an overarching thing with the way that the show handles this, I think it really does a great job of sort of what you're talking about is, you know, it's a trivial thing, but to the person that's experiencing it, it's like the biggest thing in the world, and that's the only thing they can focus on. And I think sort of generally with this episode, like every single person has the thing that they're like focusing on that makes them think that that's what everyone else is seeing about them, and that's the most important thing, when in reality, like everybody's so focused on themselves that it doesn't actually matter. But because it's yourself, it's like, this is the biggest deal. It's the most important thing. It's, you know, a disaster, and it really doesn't matter, but to you it does. And I think that the show does a really great job with, like, not just with Angela's zit, but, you know, with Sharon's boobs and, you know, Patty's wrinkles, you know, getting older and all of those sorts of things. I think it's really interesting that they are able to do that for so many different people, and each of the characters doesn't notice it about the other ones, even when they're sort of talking about it, you know, like Angela makes it pretty clear to Patty that she's like feeling uncomfortable in so many different ways, and Patty just sort of like overlooks and is like, well, wash your face like this, it'll be fine, and like doesn't really realize. And, you know, obviously when they're at the department store and Patty's like having all these issues and like trying to get, you know, wrinkle cream or, you know, reacting to the guy, and Angela just like doesn't even notice that she's having this sort of like existential crisis about getting older and needing, you know, under eye cream. And, you know, I guess sort of to the other side of that, you know, Sharon and Angela are both able to pick up on what the other one is uncomfortable about and use that as a weapon. But most people don't even care enough to notice those things. So it's a little bit interesting that they're able to sort of show the other side of it, in that, you know, when you have something that you're so focused on, sometimes the right person is able to also notice that you care a lot about that. Personally, I can't think of anything specific. I know maybe generally, like, I wore clothes that I thought were comfortable for the most part, and I sort of cared what other people thought. And so I would wear something because I liked it, but it maybe wasn't like the most cool or hip thing. And so I'd feel like awkward wearing it, even though it's what I wanted to be wearing. So I think that's sort of maybe a version of that. I can't think of anything cool that like rose to the level of like me having difficulties specifically with people or like with my parents. But personally, that's like the thing that pops to mind is like I'd wear something thinking like, oh, this is so great. I love the way this feels. I love how comfortable I am. And like, I think it looks good. And then I'd get to school and like nobody would be wearing anything like it. And I'd be like, why am I wearing this? Like, this is a terrible idea. Even though like, you know, 15 minutes before at my house, I thought it was like the best thing because I just loved it so much.
Do you see, like, I'm curious because, you know, so many of us, I think we look back on some of the things that we did in high school. Like that's such an indicative thing of like, you were choosing something that made you feel comfortable, which is pretty powerful in and of itself, that you could make that choice at that age, and then recognizing how that choice made you feel in practice. And I wonder if you feel any of that has carried over. Like, do you feel that changed as you got older, that you started to like modify your dress so that you didn't feel like that? Or that did you like dig your heels in? And do you find that you sort of like go your own way more as an adult as well?
I'm an attorney, so I have to sort of dress a certain way at work. So it makes it a little bit more, I have to focus a little bit more on like looking professional. But I do sort of go outside of like trying to fit in and like fit within a specific mold. Like obviously my hair color is a little bit more out there than you would expect from like a corporate, you know, professional type situation. And then I also, I go sort of extreme with accessories. Like I make a lot of necklaces out of old brooches. I think in my Skype picture there might even be one of those.
Amazing.
So like
beautiful. It's so pretty.
But yeah, so I sort of go outside of the norm with like statement jewelry and statement accessories. So I'm able to still sort of like have my own personality. But I think that's sort of the way I hang on to being, unique and like my own person is accessories. And clothing, I'm a little bit more like stick to the, sort of the middle of the road, like nothing to either direction, like comfortable enough, but still professional.
Mm-hmm. I feel similarly. I feel like my head of hair is my statement most of the time, and then I can just like get away with wearing black mostly.
Right.
I want to zip back really quickly to the thing that you said about, just to highlight the thing you said about Sharon attacking Angela with the zit thing, being an indication of someone really paying attention to you. Like, that's like they're the people who can hurt you most are the people who know you best, right? And I hadn't really thought about that like Angela and Sharon can hurt each other the most because they know each other so well, and that itself is a kind of love, as like poisoned as it might be right now. It's a kind of like a demonstration of their closeness, and that's something that hadn't occurred to me. The other thing I just wanted to ask Kristin, because I'm willing to share. I wanted to ask Kristin, do you have like a moment that sticks out to you of like a shame moment? We made Kate sort of share something that like fills her with like shame, or shouldn't. No one should feel shame, but did at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, the thing that and this has carried into my adult life too. Like the thing that I was always self-conscious of was my hair. I could like never figure out why everyone else's hair could look like the way that they wanted it to look. Or that's, of course, very much through my lens. I'm sure that there were many people who were not happy with their hair, but I always felt like I didn't understand. I think that looking back to on my middle school and high school years, I really didn't understand like what kind of gender presentation, like, I mean, I didn't even know the words gender presentation, right? But I don't think that I was very comfortable in my skin in terms of being somebody who was like sort of feminine, but like not in other ways, and I didn't know how to express that, and I could never, ever figure out my hair. I didn't know how to straighten it. I didn't know how to blow dry it. When bangs were a thing, that was a whole adventure. And so I was just always very, very self-conscious of what my hair was doing, and that like really never completely went away. I mean, I've like figured it out a little bit, but it's just this thing that is, I mean, saying it's superficial kind of underlines what we're talking about, that it might be superficial, but it goes much deeper. So I think that was my thing, big time.
Yeah, I mean, like I have like broad swaths of shame coursing through my high school memories for sure. But the one like when I think about it, I'm like, what's the moment that like I still go, oh my God, I can't believe, has to do with like a talent show thing I did. And this might be like a very Brian Krakow thing to do or something like that. But like there was a talent show or something like that. And I chose to sing this like really deeply like sappy, dorky song from The King and I, like this like musical love song. And like I was in the musicals. So like, I was into musicals and I was in the musical. So I was like a theater kid, but I just never sang. I don't know. Anyway, this was like I'm like covering my eyes with my hands. When I'm talking about this. This is a talent show where like everyone else sang like cool rock songs, and then I like came up and sang this song, and there was like crickets in the audience, and I can still remember it. And it was only then that I was like, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake, like a huge tactical teenage error, and nobody stopped me. And I still don't really like sing musicals in public anymore. Like musical then became like a private thing. Like I enjoy privately, but I do not burden other people with my musical love. So that's the memory that came speeding towards the top of the charts for me.
They shamed the musical right out of you.
I was gonna say that just like triggered a memory in me. When I was in middle school, I did the same thing, although my song was Thank You for the Music by ABBA.
Yes.
This was like 1992 or 1994-ish, or like right around this time. And it's like ABBA was not, like it was past its prime, and it hadn't like had its resurgence with like Mamma Mia and everything. Right. So like I loved ABBA, but it was not a thing that people really even knew, especially that song in particular. It's not like one of their major known songs. So I feel your pain on the talent show situation.
Oh, it was so bad. And so I have another very important My So-Called Life question for you, Kate, which is, this is a podcast where we try not to spoil future episodes. So we're going to have to try and restrict ourselves with this first few episodes to discuss this, but can you talk to me about your Jordan Catalano feelings, what they were then, how they've transformed now? What can you tell us about you and Jordan?
I was definitely a Jordan girl back when I watched the show. Like, I think I was able to sort of overlook all of the like problematic aspects of him because he was just so dreamy. And he does get, he goes through his like, progressions as the show goes on, and other characters interact with him in different ways. And I think by the end of the show, I was definitely not rooting for him in the same way as I was at the beginning. And looking back now, like, it's sort of like, what was I thinking? Like he's not great. He's not even like okay. He's kind of like he's just like there, and then also kind of an asshole sometimes. So it's like you're just like, we need to just get rid of you. You're not good. And then also I think Jared Leto as a human being and actor, and his like processes now, it like taints Jordan Catalano and any like positive feelings I could have for him. Like, looking through rose-colored glasses, like Jordan Catalano is like the best Jared Leto has ever been in anything and will ever be in anything, just because he was like an unknown quantity and he hadn't gotten to this like weird, I'm in this band that has an island where we have a cult essentially right now. Like, there's just so many things about him as a human that I find very problematic. So it makes Jordan Catalano more problematic in retrospect.
Yeah, but I feel, and I both agree with you and feel that I love that he exists in the show. Because once again, I think this is another gift that Winnie Holtzman has given us, where like when we're young, we can be like, oh my God, so dreamy. And now we're like, oh my God, Angela's biggest mistake. And like,
so accurate.
That's so right. That's so correct for like how we didn't make good choices as teens.
Right. Yeah. And you were just, as like a teenager, you were just sort of looking like, who is the most dreamy person that leans great? And you don't really see the fact that the reason that he's using all these eye drops is because he's out back like smoking pot and not going to class and not trying at anything and just being kind of a jerk. But because he leans great, that's all that matters.
Yeah. He leans great and he's inaccessible. So
exactly.
Plus, you can just like, I've said this before, I know, but I think like the genius of Jordan Catalano is that he's like such a blank slate in a certain way that Angela can just project whatever she needs to onto him, and that's something that we all are very capable of. So
I want to admit here on this episode that last night I dreamt that I went back to high school, like to see my old high school friends, and I like walked into this room and was like, oh my God, this is like where I used to hang out and like play cards with Jordan Catalano. Like, it was like everybody else was from my actual high school, but then Jordan Catalano was just like there, and he was sort of this like hybrid between Jordan Catalano and Jared Leto, and I woke up and was like, oh no.
Oh no.
You're like, you're too deep into my so-called life now. It's like
it took me 5 episodes.
Yeah, we'll see what your dreams are like at the end of the 19. You're just going to be like completely like immersed in the world of my so-called life.
So one of the aspects of these rewatch podcasts, Kristin's doing Buffy and My So-Called Life, I'm doing Lost. Like, one of the joys of this is that we get to introduce people to a show for the first time. And I'm wondering, as someone who has loved My So-Called Life for decades and owned the DVDs for 15 years, have you tried to get like friends and partners really into the show over the years, and how has that gone for you?
So this is like the one thing that I don't try to get anyone else into, just because it's one thing if it's a show that I just really like and someone's like, I don't really like it, like it's not for me. Like, I don't know that I could know for sure that anyone that I love doesn't also love the show as much as I do, and also recognize the fact that almost no one in my life is actually going to love this show as much as I do. So I just sort of have to rely on like as I meet new friends, and like one of my college roommates in particular, like she also loved My So-Called Life before we even got to college. So we both like independently loved it, and then we're able to love it together. So like I more enjoy those circumstances where I don't have to be concerned about being like, here's this thing that I love, please love it as much as I do.
Yeah.
Which is like sort of weird because I watch a lot of TV. I see a lot of movies. Like my husband and I go to the movies every week. Like I read all the time. Like I there's a lot of pop culture that I love, and I am totally open, and I always try to introduce people to stuff and like, hey, come over, you have to watch this movie with me, or like you should read this book. And I want people to love what I love, but like anything else, I'm like, okay, you didn't like it, that's fine. I don't care. You know, like I still have arguments with people about Lost because I love Lost. I love the final season. There are so many people that hate it. And like, yeah. I just have to be like, okay, that's fine. You can have your opinion. I mean, it's wrong, but we can still be friends, and I'm not going to think any less of you. But like, if I tried to watch My So-Called Life with someone and they were like, I don't like it, or, you know, Angela's the most annoying character ever, and like not in a way that's like, yes, sometimes she can be annoying, but also you have to love her like a real person. I don't know that I could live with that with anybody in my life. So I just have to like let them find it themselves and come find me if they also love it, or just know that I can only talk to a few people about My So-Called Life because I know.
If you're listening to this and you love Kate, do not fucking tell her.
Exactly. Just keep it
if
to
you
yourself.
don't like the show, this is your warning.
Yes, do not ruin our relationship. You just don't do it.
Just keep saying I've never heard of it. I don't know.
Exactly.
I've never seen
Like
it.
what?
I've never
What's
heard of
that?
it.
Yeah, that doesn't
I
look
didn't
like
watch
anything
TV
to me.
until 2000. I don't know what you're talking about.
My so-called what? I don't know. Yeah, that's so funny that you bring up Angela. Since we talked, Kristin, I don't want to out them, but I was talking to someone who is very well known for writing about TV, and they were trying to show My So-Called Life to their daughter. And their daughter, who I don't know how old she is, she's a little young, but like she does not like Angela. And I was like, really? She loves Lindsay Weir from Freaks and Geeks and doesn't like Angela. And this person who is known for writing about television was sort of trying to figure out if they should continue trying to show My So-Called Life to their daughter, if their daughter was too young, if Angela is just not a character that hits with the younger generation. You know, a lot of questions around Angela that I hadn't considered.
Yeah,
so
I'm so curious as to like why. What don't you like about Angela to draw those lines? Like, what's Angela?
I feel like it's. I was gonna say, I feel like it's easier, like with the comparison between Lindsay Weir and Angela Chase. I feel like it's easier to like Lindsay, because I think she's not quite as. She's a very well-rounded character, but she doesn't feel like me. And I feel like, obviously that's a very personal statement, but I feel like Angela is presented as, she's not quite as like idealized. And I don't say that meaning that Lindsay Weir is, but I feel like Angela has a lot more bad things, bad personality traits, or like things that you would be annoying. And like, I can recognize in myself that I don't like those things as much. So like, I think that might be part of it. And it might be age thing also. I mean, I don't know how old the daughter is, but I feel like Lindsay is easier to like because and maybe it's because she doesn't remind me as much of myself, and I think that's easier to like. But personally, I think that's just easier.
She seems less, to me at least in my memory, she seems a bit less vulnerable too. Like I feel like Angela is so raw all the time. We're hearing like her most internal thoughts, and it's been a minute between me and Lindsay Weir, but I don't remember feeling like that vulnerability was as raw. So maybe that's part of it too, that like you can kind of like not feel as triggered with your own shit as you might with Angela.
Trust me, I did ask this person if I could interview their daughter for the podcast, and they said no. And they said no, and I said fair enough. But I think the comparison to Lindsay Weir comes from the superficial similarities in that Freaks and Geeks opens with Lindsay Weir, a good girl, like ditching her good girlfriend to go hang out with like the quote unquote cooler kids, has a crush on like a very handsome fuck up. Like there are some very similarities, but like I think a big difference is that Freaks and Geeks is a show run by men and written by men, and so then Lindsay Weir, though I really like her as a character, does not feel as bone deep as you guys were saying, like as really truly a young woman to me as Angela does. Like I think men not to generalize all men, but like, I think, you know, if you're writing the other gender, it's hard to do a warts and all portrayal that feels true. If you're showing flaws, sometimes they feel unfair or inaccurate. And so I think with Lindsay, yeah, she's less, I don't know, complicated because maybe, you know, because there's a lot of really complicated young men on that show, because that was sort of their focus. They're writing their own memories of growing up at that time, and so which is fine. I'm glad that show exists. I love it. I'm not knocking it, but I think we're really lucky to have this show created by a woman with her insights into young womanhood.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to know so much more from that girl, whoever she might be.
I know.
I'm like, please. This episode, this show, but this episode specifically, it has so much happening, and we've touched on some of it, right? Like the body appearance and like how that changes over time, and how Angela as a character, it sounds like, really impacted you, Kate, growing up, and then like, I don't know, in this like revisiting capacity. But I want to make sure that we touch on, like, you know, did we hit the points you wanted to hit? Are there other moments in this episode that you want to talk about that we haven't touched on yet?
I think one main thing that it's not necessarily just from this episode, sort of overarching from the entire series, but this is the episode probably where the first instances of this occur. But Brian and Ricky's interactions, and especially in this episode where they're sort of bonding over both being outsiders, but obviously in very different ways. I thought, like, I sort of love any interaction between them, and I also really love any interaction between the two of them and Rayanne. Like in the episode with the fake ID, like I sort of like live for the three of them, and like Rayanne sort of poking at Brian, and Ricky trying to sort of be the mediator, but also being like, this is a weird circumstance, and Brian just being Brian. But here in particular, like I really love that they sort of start to bond, and like when Kyle and Sharon are doing their thing in the band room, and Brian and Ricky are sitting outside, and they're just talking about why Ricky wears eyeliner, and it's like the conversation, we like join it sort of in media res, and like they're already talking about it, and he's like, oh, so Egyptians wear eyeliner to, you know, ward off evil spirits, and then Brian's like, well, so that means you believe in evil spirits, and, you know, Ricky's like, no, I'm Catholic, I just like the way it looks, but that's why I tried it. And it's like them just sort of like getting to know each other, and I guess it's earlier in the episode, but like them just being like, when did people start like pairing off and like holding hands? Like, what is happening? Like, why am I not doing this? Like, am I even able to? Like, how did this even happen? Like, I just really love their dynamic, because they're both different, but in different ways.
That's really interesting. We haven't talked a ton about that yet. Just thinking about the fact that the reason, because I love the three of them together too, just in general. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head, which is the reason that it's so appealing is because they are not the same kind of outsider, but by nature of being an outsider, they speak some similar language and have an ease with each other of like, yeah, you know, I'm like a total freak over here, you're a total freak over there. So like we can just sort of have an ease with each other, especially the way that Rayanne and Ricky talk to Brian. They don't give a shit what his deal is. So yeah, that resonates with me big time.
And I just like, I mean, as much as I have problems a lot of the times with Brian Krakow, it does warm my heart, like, just that they're even paying attention to him, because he's so thirsty for like any kind of attention, you know, because he's so invisible to so many people. So I really love that too. Yeah.
And it's a little bit easier to ignore is maybe the wrong word, but like sort of set aside the problematic aspects of Brian, because when he's with Ricky, he's not really as much he's not doing anything as problematic. Like, obviously the stuff with Angela gets it gets problematic, you know, the way that he views her and treats her, and sort of, you know, nice guy bullshit. But when he's with Ricky, he's able to just be sort of a weirdo in his own way, and it helps make him more of a human, well-rounded character, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me too. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joanna. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna ask for best use of flannel. So
hell yeah.
My jaw is on the floor. That flannel is divine. It's so fucking special. The best use of flannel of this episode.
Okay, so my best use of flannel, it's after, I guess it sort of starts when they're in the bathroom, when the results of the poll get slipped under the door. It's when Angela and Rayanne and Ricky are in there together as Ricky's saying goodbye to the bathroom and the yellow piece of paper gets slipped under the door. So in that episode, or in that scene, Angela is wearing what looks like a denim sleeveless shirt over like a mustardy color top and what looks like maybe leggings. When they get outside right after that scene, we discover Angela is wearing blue plaid like boxer shorts over the leggings. And then she has also put on this flannel that is a terrible combination of colors. It's like a weird, also like mustardy green and like brownish. And it's not a great look, but the fact that she decided to put those two together and then add to that the fact that Rayanne is wearing her plaid duster bathrobe, like that combination is just the best use of flannel because it's so ridiculous and I love it.
I feel so blessed right now because I consider you, Kate. I mean, Kristin's obviously my so-called life expert, but you, I think, have like a doctorate in my so-called life is what I've gleaned from talking to you. And I would just like you to know that you've mentioned both of our individual best use of flannels from the episode just now.
Yep.
I picked the boxers. Kristin picked the duster. So I can feel like we're all making it happen here.
Right? Yeah.
That is amazing. And I really take that as a compliment. A doctorate in my so-called life. I'm going to have to like make a certificate and like hang it in my office. Like I care more about that than my law degree.
Yeah.
Kate, thank you again for supporting the podcast and for talking to us. It's been so fun to talk to somebody who is not me or Joanna, like to get to get a third perspective in here and to have you pull out, especially on this episode, because I think that most people who know the series would agree that this is one of the best of the series, if not the best of the series. So it's been really fun to have you on with us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This has been I don't even have words. Like, it's just been so great because, like I was saying, since I don't want to introduce other people to my so-called life, I have to like find fans in the wild, and so I don't get a lot of opportunities to like dive deep on about anything about my so-called life. So be able to like dive deep about this episode in particular with two people who have like been rewatching it and like love it. It's just been like the best Sunday ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So wait, so you bring up a good point, which is for all of the other my so-called life geeks out there who are listening, how can they find you? Where can they find you, Kate, so that you can share your love with the series with them?
I can do that. So like I said earlier, my handle, screen name, whatever on everything is possibly even me. My Instagram is private because I post a lot of pictures like at my house of my dog and like I because I'm an attorney, I try to keep like that sort of on the down low. But my Twitter is public. The main thing I use Twitter for, since I haven't been, but I'm obviously, if people want to like interact on Twitter, I'm totally down for it. I mostly have been just posting haiku reviews of movies. That's like my main thing on Twitter. And I've been doing haiku reviews of every episode as I've been rewatching for the podcast. So
oh my God, incredible.
So that's what I'm doing.
Wait, Kate, can we start reading your haikus on
please.
the podcast?
Yes. Yeah. Should I start like doing it ahead of time so you can do it in the episode?
Yes.
Please.
Please.
Okay. I will write my haikus ahead of time and get those to you guys so you can discuss them.
Oh my God, fantastic.
And then I guess other than like my personal stuff, it's kind of like coincidental timing. I am starting a podcast, which is launching, I guess, or going live this week. My friend who is obsessed with Buffy and buffering, we are doing a reread of Babysitter's Club, but it is from the perspective of like women in our generation, and it's called Generation BSC because we're looking at it sort of like we're in this micro generation between Generation X and millennials, which there's so many think pieces about our sort of micro generation, and like they call them the Oregon Trail generation, the Jordan Catalano generation.
Yeah, Generation Catalano.
Exactly. So we are we're calling it Generation BSC because it's the group of I guess it's mostly women, but we're hoping that we have friends that we're trying to get to read Babysitter's Club with us now that did not read them because they were, boys, and most boys didn't read Babysitter's Club. So, yeah, Generation BSC. Hopefully,
Oh my God.
Hopefully, we'll get it up and running this week.
So excited.
I have a quick wait. I'm gonna do a thing right now. It's not gonna be fair at all. But I'm gonna cast you both as Babysitter Club characters, right?
Hell
This
yeah.
is what we used to do before Sex and City, right? Is you're like,
Yes.
which Babysitter Club girl are you, right?
Yeah.
So Kate, you were obviously Claudia thanks to your amazing accessories. Right?
I will tell you, so this is one thing that Lauren and I discussed on our intro episode, possibly on the Christy's Great Idea episode. Like, when I was growing up, I was a Mary Ann that wished I was a Stacy, but now I'm a Claudia, maybe a little bit Shannon, if that makes sense.
Claudia Shannon Rising. I love it.
Yes.
Kristen, you are Christy to a fucking T.
Gotta bring that Christy gay energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not just
Oh
that.
my God,
she's
Kristen,
like,
you are going to love my friend Lauren because she feels the exact same way. She is Christy and she has the same feelings about Christy that you were just referencing.
Oh my God, I could talk. Yeah, if you ever need a second person to talk about how gay Christy is, you found her. It's me.
It's not just Christy's gay energy, which, like, of course, yes, is true, but it's also like Christy is a girl boss.
Yeah.
Like, she is in charge, and that is you, Kristen.
So Joanna, who are you?
I don't know. I always thought I was kind of. Isn't Dawn's the one from California, right?
Dawn's
So
the
I
one
was
from
like,
California.
yeah.
I think you have a little Claudia going on as well. I feel like.
Do I?
I do, because Claudia's
I
just.
wish.
I just feel like Claudia's like cool, like your fucking cool glasses and your cool hair. Like you have some Claudia
and, like,
going on.
being a writer, she has she's like artistic, but you're like creative by being a writer.
Yeah.
Sort of like different versions of the same thing. I
Okay,
can see that.
Dawn, because I like to eat nothing but kale for breakfast, which is true of me, and then Claudia because I put purple dye in my hair.
Yeah, Dawn's
Thank
son,
you.
Claudia Rising.
Yeah,
Exactly. Perfect. And Kristen just Christy across the board.
Yeah, I'm similar to my actual astrology where I am like Sagittarius all the way through. I am just Christy all the way down.
obviously. So that's
For sure.
Generation BSC is the name of the podcast.
Yeah, we have
Awesome.
Twitter, Instagram, and we're fingers crossed. As soon as I stop talking to you guys, I need to figure out how all this like posting stuff happens because we're supposed to go live on Tuesday. So fingers crossed. By the time this gets posted, it'll be out there in the world.
Amazing, and we'll put it in the notes whether it goes in the main or this is its own episode so that people can find you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is so much fun.
From the darkest corners of our imagination comes a game show that's more ridiculous than terrifying. Welcome to Tickled to Death, the horror comedy game show where nothing is sacred, everything's a little unhinged, and the only thing more cursed than the questions are the jokes. I'm Roz Hernandez, your fearless host, and each week I'll be leading a brave group of guests through twisted horror trivia, improv games, and enough sarcastic banter to make you question all your life's choices. So come for the screams, stay for the snark. Listen to Tickled to Death wherever you get your podcasts, and hit follow unless you want the show to follow you. In the meantime, don't get tickled to death!
There are names that echo in the world of true crime, names that carry unanswered questions. Oakley Carlson, a 5-year-old girl who deserved safety, protection, and love, yet the system built to protect her failed, and Oakley disappeared. Her community still calls her name
Or Ellen Greenberg, found in her locked apartment with 20 stab wounds, a case declared a suicide. But how does a locked apartment tell two different stories at once?
These are not just cases we have covered. They are people. They were loved, and they mattered.
Their stories deserve to be told with care, with depth, with truth.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ricky.
We are the husband and wife duo behind Crime Salad.
Every week we uncover stories of the missing, the silence, the misunderstood. We ask the questions that were left behind. We refuse to let these stories be forgotten.
Because behind every case is a family holding on, a community seeking answers, and a story that deserves to be heard.
We invite you to listen to Crime Salad,
Your healthy portion of true crime, wherever you get your podcasts.